The darkness was cold and deep. Jake Morrison felt it pulling at him like a heavy blanket that did not want to let go. His body was stiff and his mind was foggy. Something was beeping nearby. The sound grew louder and faster until it hurt his ears. Jake opened his eyes slowly. Bright white lights made him squint. He was lying in a narrow metal bed inside what looked like a glass box. The air smelled clean but strange. His throat was dry and his mouth tasted like metal. He tried to move his fingers and toes. They felt heavy, but they worked. A soft voice spoke from somewhere above him. Subject 749 is awake. All signs are normal. Beginning full revival process. The glass box around Jake hissed and opened. Cool air touched his skin. He sat up slowly and looked around. He was in a huge room filled with hundreds of glass boxes just like his. Most were still closed with people sleeping inside. Some were already open and empty. Jake remembered now. The ship, the long sleep. Earth was gone. They had been traveling through space for almost 1,000,000 years. The thought made his head spin. A woman in a white coat walked over to him. She had kind eyes and graying hair. "Welcome back, Commander Morrison. I am Dr. Williams. How do you feel?" Jake tried to speak but only made a croaking sound. Dr. Williams handed him a cup of water. The liquid was warm and tasted good. After a few sips, he found his voice. "How long?" he asked. 870,000 years, give or take a few decades. The ship's computers woke us up because we have reached our destination. Jake stood up on shaky legs. Dr. Williams helped him put on a simple gray uniform. His muscles felt weak, but they were getting stronger with each passing minute. The long sleep had preserved his body well. "How many others are awake?" Jake asked. "About 50 so far. The ship is waking us up slowly so we do not overload the medical systems. Dr. Hamilton was one of the first to wake up. She is already on the bridge." Jake nodded. Lisa Hamilton was the smartest person he had ever met. If anyone could figure out what was happening, it would be her. Dr. Williams led Jake through the ship's corridors. Everything was clean and working perfectly. The walls glowed with soft blue light. Their footsteps echoed in the empty hallways. Jake had forgotten how big the ship was. It was like a small city floating in space. They took a lift up to the bridge. The doors opened to reveal a large room filled with screens and control panels. Several people were already there, all wearing the same gray uniforms. They looked tired, but alert. Lisa Hamilton stood at the center of the room, studying a large display screen. She was a tall woman with short dark hair and sharp eyes. When she saw Jake, she smiled. "Jake, good to see you awake. Come look at this." Jake walked over to the screen. It showed a view of space outside the ship. But this was not the empty space they had expected to find. Dozens of strange objects moved between the stars. They looked like ships, but not like any ships Jake had ever seen. Some were long and thin like needles. Others were round like balls. A few were shaped like giant rings. "What are they?" Jake asked. "Ships. Lots of them. And they are not human ships." Lisa pointed to another screen. "Our sensors show at least 12 different types. Someone has been busy while we were sleeping." A young man at one of the control panels turned around. "Commander Morrison, I am Captain Ryan Brooks. I have been trying to contact the ships, but they are not responding to any of our signals." Jake studied the screens. The alien ships were moving in organized patterns. They looked like they were patrolling the area. "How many ships are we talking about?" "Over 300 in our immediate area. Our long-range sensors show thousands more throughout this star system." Lisa pulled up another display. "And Jake, look at this." The new screen showed the star system they had entered. It was supposed to be empty, just a few dead planets and some asteroids. Instead, Jake saw massive structures orbiting each planet. Space stations the size of moons. Rings of metal and light that circled entire worlds. This system has been colonized, Jake said. Heavily colonized. By multiple species working together, Lisa added. The energy signatures are all different. These are not ships from one civilization. This is some kind of alliance. A warning tone sounded throughout the bridge. Captain Brooks turned back to his controls. Commander, we are being scanned. Multiple ships are approaching our position. Jake looked at the main screen. A dozen alien ships were moving toward them. They were not moving fast, but they were clearly coming to investigate. Are our defenses online? Jake asked. A woman at the weapons station nodded. All systems are ready, Commander. But these ships do not appear to be hostile. They are maintaining a safe distance. Jake studied the approaching ships. They were sleek and advanced looking. Their hulls gleamed with strange metals, and their engines left trails of colored light. Whoever built them was very skilled. Lisa, what do our records say about this system? According to our star charts, this system was empty when we left Earth. No life, no technology. Nothing but rocks and gas giants. And now it is the center of a galactic civilization, Jake said quietly. Captain Brooks looked up from his station. Commander, we are receiving a transmission. It is in a language our computers do not recognize. Put it through the universal translator, Jake ordered. The bridge speakers crackled to life. A voice spoke in heavily accented but understandable English. Unknown vessel, you have entered Federation space. Please identify yourself and state your purpose. Jake looked at Lisa. She nodded. Jake pressed a button on the communication panel. This is Commander Jake Morrison of the Earthship Eternal Dawn. We are peaceful explorers from the planet Earth. We have been traveling for a very long time, and we are looking for a new home. There was a long pause. Then the alien voice spoke again. Earth? That name is not in our records. Please stand by while we contact our superiors. The communication ended. Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. They were all staring at him with worried expressions. Well, Jake said, this is not what we expected to find. Lisa walked over to another control panel. Jake, our sensors are picking up something else. These aliens, they are using technology that is very similar to ours. Their ships have the same kind of shields we do. Their weapons use the same energy types. How is that possible? I do not know, but there is more. Our computers have been analyzing the structures in this system. Some of the materials, some of the building techniques, they match patterns in our own historical databases. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. What are you saying? I am saying that whoever built these structures learned from someone who knew human technology. The question is how. Captain Brooks called out from his station. Commander, the alien ships are forming an escort formation around us. They want us to follow them. Jake looked at the screen. The alien ships had arranged themselves in a protective circle around the Eternal Dawn. They were not pointing weapons at them, but they were clearly in control. Set course to follow them, Jake ordered. And wake up the rest of the senior staff. We are going to need everyone. As the Eternal Dawn began to move with its alien escort, Jake stared out at the vast civilization that had grown up while humanity slept. Somewhere in the back of his mind, he had a strange feeling that this meeting was not as random as it seemed. The stars had changed while they slept. But perhaps, Jake thought, humanity had changed them first. The alien flagship was massive. Jake Morrison stood at the window of the shuttle bay and stared at the ship that dwarfed even the Eternal Dawn. The vessel was shaped like a giant crystal with smooth surfaces that reflected the light of nearby stars. Strange symbols glowed along its hull in colors that seemed to shift and change. Captain Ryan Brooks adjusted his uniform one last time. He would be leading the diplomatic team while Jake remained on their ship. Dr. Lisa Hamilton stood beside him, carrying a datapad loaded with information about Earth and human history. They both looked nervous but determined. Remember, Jake said, we do not know what these aliens want. Be polite, but do not tell them everything about us until we know more about them. Ryan nodded. Understood, Commander. We will play it safe. The shuttle that came to collect them was unlike anything they had ever seen. It moved without making any sound and seemed to bend light around itself. The pilot was hidden behind a dark screen, but Jake could see movement in the cockpit dot as the shuttle carried Ryan and Lisa toward the alien ship. Jake returned to the bridge of the Eternal Dawn. The rest of the senior staff had been awakened and were now at their stations. Chief Engineer Danny Clark was studying the alien ship's energy patterns. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez was monitoring their weapons and shields. Danny, what can you tell me about their technology? Jake asked. Danny looked up from his console. His hair was still messy from the long sleep, but his eyes were sharp and focused. It is advanced, Commander, very advanced. But there is something strange about it. Their power systems use principles that are in our own historical databases. What do you mean? I mean these aliens are using technology that humans developed over 800,000 years ago. Technology we thought was lost forever. Jake felt that chill again. How is that possible? I do not know. But their shield frequencies match patterns in our oldest engineering files. It is like they learned from us somehow. Meanwhile, inside the alien flagship, Ryan and Lisa were being escorted through corridors that seemed to glow with their own light. Their escort was a tall, thin creature with blue skin and 4 arms. It spoke through a device attached to its throat. Welcome to the Harmony's Edge. I am Diplomatic Assistant Vextam. The Council is waiting to meet with you. They entered a large chamber with a domed ceiling that showed the stars outside. 12 different aliens sat at a curved table that faced 2 empty chairs. Ryan and Lisa sat down and looked at the beings that represented this Galactic Federation. The creature at the center of the table was made of what looked like living crystal. Light pulsed through its body as it spoke. I am Supreme Chancellor Quanther of the Galactic Federation. We welcome you to our space, though your arrival has raised many questions. Ryan stood up and bowed slightly. Thank you for receiving us, Chancellor. I am Captain Ryan Brooks, and this is Dr. Lisa Hamilton. We represent the human species from the planet Earth. A creature that looked like a giant insect clicked its mandibles. Earth is not in our star charts. Where is this planet located? Lisa activated her datapad and projected a holographic map of the galaxy. Our home was here, in what you probably call the Outer Rim, but our planet was destroyed long ago. We have been traveling in space for many centuries, looking for a new home. The aliens whispered among themselves in languages that their translators could not handle. Finally, a creature with tentacles instead of arms spoke up. Your ship is very old, but your technology is very advanced. This does not match our records of typical refugee species. What do you mean? Ryan asked. Most species that lose their homeworld come to us with damaged ships and outdated technology. Your ship appears to be in perfect condition, and your systems are more advanced than many of our member species. Lisa and Ryan exchanged glances. They had not expected this line of questioning. Chancellor Quanther leaned forward. There is another matter. Your ship's energy signature matches patterns we have found in ancient ruins throughout the galaxy. Ruins left by a species we call the predecessors. Predecessors? Lisa asked. An ancient civilization that existed long before any of our current species developed space travel. They left behind structures and technology that we still do not fully understand. Your ship has the same energy patterns as their artifacts. Ryan felt sweat forming on his forehead. That is interesting, but I do not see how that relates to us. We are just travelers looking for a safe place to live. A new voice interrupted the conversation. It came from a creature that looked like it was made of metal and circuits. Perhaps we should demonstrate the full capabilities of our new guests. Admiral, Zethkar of the Vrexian fleet had entered the chamber. He was a tall, gray-skinned being with glowing red eyes. His uniform was covered with military decorations. "Admiral," Chancellor Quanther said, "we are conducting peaceful first contact procedures." "Peace is well and good, Chancellor, but we must know what we are dealing with. I suggest we test their ship's defenses. A simple warning shot to gauge their capabilities." Ryan stood up quickly. "That will not be necessary, Admiral. We are not hostile." "Then you will not mind a harmless demonstration," Admiral Zethkar replied. Back on the Eternal Dawn, Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez suddenly looked up from her station. "Commander Morrison, the alien flagship is charging weapons." Jake rushed to the tactical display. "Are they targeting us?" "Yes, sir. It appears to be a low-power shot." "Probably meant as a test," Jake thought quickly. "If they raised shields, it might be seen as an aggressive act. If they did not, the aliens might think they were helpless." He made his decision. "Raise shields but do not charge weapons. Let them take their shot." The energy beam from the alien flagship struck the Eternal Dawn's shields. Instead of the expected light show of impact, something strange happened. The shields absorbed the energy completely. There was no flash, no vibration, nothing. The beam simply disappeared. On the alien flagship, Admiral Zethkar stared at his weapons officer. "What happened?" "Sir, our energy beam was completely absorbed. There was no reflection, no scatter, no overload. Their shields just made our attack disappear." In the council chamber, Ryan's communication device beeped. Danny Clark's voice came through clearly. "Captain Brooks, we just absorbed their test shot. Our shields are at 102% power. Their attack actually charged our systems." The aliens in the chamber fell silent. Several of them began typing rapidly on their own devices. Lisa realized that their secret was already out. "Chancellor, our ship has defensive systems that are designed to absorb energy attacks. We developed this technology out of necessity during our long journey through space." "Developed?" The insect-like creature's mandibles clicked nervously. "Or inherited from the predecessors." Before Lisa could answer, another alarm sounded. Chief Engineer Danny Clark had been analyzing the alien ship's computer systems while they were distracted. His neural implants, designed for interfacing with human technology, had somehow connected to the Federation's network. Amy Rodriguez's voice came over the communication system. "Captain, we have a problem. Our engineer has accidentally accessed their computer network. We are seeing their complete database of predecessor artifacts." On the main screen of the council chamber, images began appearing. Ancient structures on dozens of worlds. Ruins that were clearly built by the same hands that had designed the Eternal Dawn. Technology that matched human engineering principles down to the smallest detail. Chancellor Quanther's crystal body flashed with bright light. "Impossible. These records are classified at the highest levels. How did you access our secure networks?" Danny's voice came through the speakers. "Sorry about that. My brain implants were just trying to understand your technology. I did not mean to break into your files." Admiral Zethkar drew what looked like a weapon. Brain implants? Direct neural interface with computer systems? Only the predecessors were said to have such capabilities. Ryan realized that their cover story was falling apart. These aliens knew far more about ancient human technology than he had expected. The Federation had been studying human ruins for thousands of years. Lisa made a decision. She stood up and faced the council directly. "Chancellor, we need to tell you the truth. We are not just refugees from a destroyed world. We are the people you call the predecessors. We are the ones who built those ruins you have been studying." The chamber erupted in noise as all 12 species began talking at once. Some sounded excited, others fearful, and a few sounded angry. Chancellor Quanther raised a crystal hand for silence. "If this is true, Then you have been gone for over 600,000 years. Why did you leave? Why have you returned now? Ryan looked at Lisa. They had crossed a line they could not go back over. The truth was out, and now they would have to deal with the consequences. We left to save the galaxy, Lisa said quietly, and we have returned to see if we succeeded. The silence in the council chamber stretched on for what felt like hours. 12 different alien species stared at Lisa Hamilton and Ryan Brooks with expressions that ranged from wonder to fear to disbelief. Chancellor Quanther's crystal body had stopped pulsing with light and now glowed with a steady, cold radiance. You claim to be the predecessors, the Chancellor finally said. Prove it. Lisa activated her data pad and connected it to the chamber's main display system. I will show you our history. The real history of what happened to this galaxy 870,000 years ago. The display filled with images from the Eternal Dawn's historical database. Ancient Earth appeared first, blue and green and beautiful, with massive cities that stretched across entire continents. Ships filled the space around the planet like schools of silver fish. This was our homeworld, Lisa said. Earth, but we did not stay there long. Humans have always been explorers. The images changed to show the early days of human expansion into space. Generation ships launched toward nearby stars, colonies established on distant worlds. First contact with other species, most of which were still in their early stages of development. Admiral Zefkar leaned forward. How many worlds did you colonize? At our peak, over 3,000 inhabited systems, Ryan answered. We built the hyperspace lanes that you still use today. We established trade routes between different sectors of the galaxy. We helped younger species develop faster than light travel. A creature that looked like a walking tree spoke up in a voice like wind through leaves. The Elven archives speak of ancient teachers who came from the stars. Beings who shared knowledge but never demanded worship or tribute. That sounds like us, Lisa said with a sad smile. We always believed that knowledge should be shared freely. We helped dozens of species reach the stars. We gave them technology and guidance, but we never tried to rule over them. The images on the display showed the height of human civilization. Massive space stations that served as meeting places for different species. Planets that had been transformed from dead rocks into garden worlds. Ships that could cross the galaxy in weeks instead of years. You were gods, whispered a small furry creature with large eyes. No, Ryan said firmly. We were never gods. We were just people who had learned some things earlier than others. We always knew that other species would eventually surpass us. That was the plan. Chancellor Quanther's body began to pulse again. Then why did you disappear? Our oldest records show that the predecessor ruins were abandoned suddenly. There are no signs of war or disaster. You simply vanished. Lisa's expression grew dark. We detected something coming from outside the galaxy. A wave of energy that would sterilize all life in its path. Our scientists calculated that it would reach the outer rim of the galaxy in less than 1,000 years. The chamber fell silent again. Several of the aliens began checking their own historical records. We had a choice, Lisa continued. We could fight the wave and probably lose, destroying ourselves and accomplishing nothing. Or we could sacrifice ourselves to save the future. How does running away save anyone? Admiral Zefkar demanded. Ryan stood up and walked closer to the display. Show them the evacuation protocol, Lisa. The images changed to show human fleets dismantling their own civilization. Space stations were broken apart and their materials scattered to uninhabited worlds. Planets were evacuated and their cities buried or destroyed. Advanced technology was hidden in secure vaults throughout the galaxy. We spent 200 years preparing for our departure, Ryan explained. We encoded our knowledge into storage devices and hid them on thousands of worlds. We left behind just enough clues to help future civilizations find them when they were ready. A reptilian creature with scales that shifted color spoke up. The teaching ruins. We have found them on 17 worlds in our territory. They contain information about agriculture, medicine, and basic space travel. Each cache was designed to activate when the local species reached a certain level of development, Lisa said. We wanted to help you grow but not make you dependent on us. Admiral Zethkar was studying his datapad. Our weapons technology, our shield systems, even our ship designs. They are all based on principles we found in predecessor ruins. That was intentional, Ryan said. We gave you tools that would help you defend yourselves and explore the galaxy. But we were careful not to give you anything that could be used to destroy entire star systems. Chancellor Quanther's light grew brighter. You dismantled a galactic empire to help species you had never met? Yes, and then you left the galaxy entirely? We built generation ships and launched them beyond the galactic rim, Lisa explained. We went into deep sleep and waited for the energy wave to pass. Our computers were programmed to wake us when it was safe to return. The tree-like creature rustled its leaves. How long did you plan to sleep? Forever, if necessary, Lisa said. Quietly, we knew there was a chance we might never wake up. Our ships were designed to drift in space until they broke down. We accepted that we might be the last generation of humans to ever live. A small blue-skinned alien with tentacles for hair spoke for the first time. The energy wave you mentioned. We have no records of such an event. Ryan and Lisa exchanged glances. That means our plan worked, Ryan said. The wave was attracted to large concentrations of advanced technology. By dismantling our civilization and scattering to the void, we drew it away from the galaxy. You used yourselves as bait, Admiral Zethkar said with something that might have been respect in his voice. We did what was necessary. The chamber erupted in discussion as the aliens processed this information. Some species seemed awed by humanity's sacrifice. Others appeared worried about what this meant for the current balance of power in the galaxy. Chancellor Quanther called for order. If you are truly the predecessors, then you possess technology far beyond our current capabilities. What are your intentions now that you have returned? Before Lisa could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. The chamber's displays switched to tactical screens showing space around the Harmony's edge. A fleet of dark, angular ships had appeared at the edge of the system. Admiral Zethkar was on his feet immediately. Calathi Empire battle fleet. 12. Heavy cruisers and a command ship. Who are the Calathi? Ryan asked. A militant species that believes in conquest through superior force, Chancellor Quanther explained. They have been pushing for expansion into this sector for months. On the tactical display, the Calathi ships began moving toward the Federation fleet. Their weapons were charging and their shields were at full power. A harsh voice came over the communication system. Federation vessels, you will surrender the alien ship to Calathi custody immediately. Any resistance will be met with force. Admiral Zethkar looked at his tactical officer. Our fleet cannot match theirs in direct combat. We need to withdraw. No, Lisa said firmly. Patch me through to our ship. The communication link opened, and Jake Morrison's voice came through clearly. Lisa, we can see the enemy fleet from here. Are you and Ryan safe? For now. Jake, the Calathi Empire wants to capture us. Can the Eternal Dawn handle their ships? There was a pause. Then Jake's voice returned with a tone that sent chills through the alien council members. Lisa, these ships are using weapons technology that we gave to your ancestors 30,000 years ago. They are like children playing with toys. On the main display, the Eternal Dawn began to move. The massive human ship accelerated toward the Calathi fleet with smooth, silent grace. As it approached, its hull began to glow with energy patterns that none of the Federation species recognized. Danny Clark's voice, came over the communication system. Calathi vessels, this is Chief Engineer Danny Clark of the human ship Eternal Dawn. You are outgunned and outmatched. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. The Calathi commander's laughter came through the speakers. One ship against 13. Your courage is admirable but foolish. The lead Calathi cruiser fired its main weapons at the Eternal Dawn. The energy beam struck the human ship's shields and simply vanished, just as the Federation test shot had done earlier. Amy Rodriguez's voice was calm and professional. Calathi fleet, that was your only warning shot. Stand down or we will disable your ships. Impossible, the Calathi commander snarled. All ships, concentrate fire on the alien vessel. 13 enemy ships opened fire at once. Energy beams, plasma bolts, and missile barrages converged on the Eternal Dawn from all directions. The human ship's shields absorbed every attack without showing any sign of strain. Then the Eternal Dawn fired back. Thin beams of blue light reached out from the human ship and touched each Calathi vessel. There were no explosions, no dramatic flashes of light. The enemy ships simply stopped moving. Their engines went dark, their weapons powered down, and their shields collapsed. In the council chamber, every alien was staring at the display in stunned silence. Danny's voice came through the speakers again. Calathi fleet, your ships have been disabled. Your life support systems are still functioning, but your weapons and engines are offline. You have 10 minutes to signal your surrender before we send you home the hard way. Admiral Zethkar turned to Lisa with wide eyes. How did you do that? We designed most of the technology your enemies are using, Lisa replied. Word of humanity's return spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Within days, representatives from hundreds of worlds were arriving in the Federation capital system. Some came in friendship, others in fear, and many with their own plans for how to deal with the returned predecessors. Chancellor Quanther stood before the largest gathering of alien species in Federation history. The massive council chamber had been expanded to hold delegates from over 200 different worlds. The noise of dozens of languages being translated at once filled the air like the buzzing of angry insects. Order, the Chancellor called out, his crystal body flashing with bright light. We must decide how to proceed with our human guests. A delegate from the peaceful Zenthari spoke first. She was tall and graceful with silver skin and large, kind eyes. The humans saved our galaxy once before. We should welcome them as returning guardians and learn from their wisdom. Angry voices rose from another section of the chamber. War Master Grexton of the Krogan Alliance stood up. He was a massive creature covered in thick armor, plating with tusks that jutted from his lower jaw. These humans are too powerful. Single species should have such capabilities. They are a threat to the balance we have built. They disabled 13 warships without firing a shot, argued a small furry delegate. If they wanted to conquer us, we would already be conquered. That makes them even more dangerous, Grexton growled. They could destroy any of us whenever they choose. How can we trust beings with such power? Chancellor Quanther raised his hand for silence. That is why we have prepared a series of tests. The humans have agreed to prove their intentions through deeds rather than words. On the Eternal Dawn, Jake Morrison was meeting with her senior staff in the ship's main conference room. Through the large windows, they could see the hundreds of alien ships that had gathered to witness whatever was about to happen. 3 tests. Jake said, reading from a datapad. Mental evaluation, diplomatic challenge, and military assessment. They want to know if we can be trusted with the power we possess. Dr. Lisa Hamilton looked nervous. The mental evaluation will be conducted by the Illithoi. They are the most advanced telepathic species in the Federation. They will try to read my mind to determine if our intentions are peaceful. Can they actually get into your head? Chief Engineer Danny Clark asked. Human brains are different from most alien species, Lisa explained. Our minds work on multiple levels at the same time, but the Illithoi are very skilled. I am not sure what they will find. Captain Ryan Brooks was studying the diplomatic challenge. They want me to solve a border dispute between the Vorthan Republic and the Nexus Collective. These two species have been fighting over a star system for 300 years. Every attempt at mediation has failed. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez frowned at her datapad. The military test is interesting. They want me to command a mixed fleet of Federation ships against their best tactical simulation. The goal is to defeat an enemy force while minimizing casualties on both sides. Jake looked around the table at his friends. Are we ready for this? We have to be, Lisa said. If we fail these tests, some of these alien species might try to force us to leave the galaxy. Others might try to capture our ship and steal our technology. The first test took place on a neutral space station orbiting the Federation capital world. Lisa was escorted to a circular chamber with walls that seemed to be made of flowing water. 3 Illithoi waited for her in the center of the room. The Illithoi were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. They looked like humans, but their skin was pale blue and their eyes were completely white with no pupils. When they moved, it was like watching dancers who never needed to touch the ground. Dr. Hamilton, the lead Illithoi said without moving its mouth. The words appeared directly in Lisa's mind. We will examine your thoughts and intentions. Do not resist us. Lisa sat down in a chair that had been provided for her. I understand. I will try to cooperate. The 3 Illithoi joined hands and began to glow with soft white light. Lisa felt something touch the edges of her consciousness. It was gentle at first, like fingers running through water. Then the presence tried to push deeper into her mind. But something unexpected happened. Lisa's thoughts seemed to have layers that the Illithoi could not penetrate. Her surface thoughts were clear and open, showing her genuine desire for peace and cooperation. But deeper levels of her mind remained protected by barriers that the telepaths had never encountered before. Fascinating, the lead Illithoi said aloud. Your mind has defenses that we cannot break through. But what we can see is purely peaceful. You have no desire to harm or control other species. Can you see our history? Lisa asked. The real reasons. Why we left the galaxy. We see images of great sacrifice. A civilization that chose to destroy itself rather than let others suffer. We see genuine love for species you had never met. The Illithoi stepped back and bowed slightly. You have passed the first test, Dr. Hamilton. Your intentions are pure. The second test took place in the Federation's main diplomatic complex. Captain Ryan Brooks sat at a large table with representatives from the Vorthan Republic and the Nexus Collective. The two species could not have been more different. The Vorthans were reptilian beings with green scales and yellow eyes. They were proud warriors who valued honor above all else. The Nexus Collective were a hive mind species that looked like walking insects with multiple arms and compound eyes. The Kara system rightfully belongs to the Republic, declared General Faxver of the Vorthans. Our ancestors discovered it first, and our people died defending it from pirates. Incorrect, buzzed the Nexus Collective speaker. Our mining colonies were established on the asteroid fields before Vorthan exploration ships ever entered the system. We have legal claim. Ryan had been studying the case files for hours. Both species had valid claims to parts of the Kira system. The Vorthans had established military outposts on the outer planets. The Nexus Collective had built mining facilities in the asteroid belt. Neither side wanted to give up their claims. May I ask a question? Ryan said quietly. Both sides turned to look at him. Have either of you ever wondered why your ancestors chose the Kira system in the first place? It has valuable minerals and good defensive positions, General Faxver replied. The asteroid fields contain rare elements needed for our technology, the Nexus speaker added. Ryan activated a holographic display showing the Kira system. But Instead of current political boundaries, it showed much older information from the Eternal Dawn's historical database. 800,000 years ago, this system was a gift, Ryan said. My people, the humans you call predecessors, gave this system to both of your species when you first achieved space travel. The room fell silent. Both delegations stared at the ancient star charts that showed human ships delivering Vorthan and Nexus colonists to different parts of the same system. We intended for you to share it, Ryan continued. The Vorthans were given the outer planets because your people are natural defenders and the system needed protection. The Nexus Collective was given the asteroid fields because your hive mind could coordinate complex mining operations better than anyone else. General Faxver's scales changed color, which Ryan had learned was a sign of surprise. You are saying our ancestors were meant to work together? Yes, and if you look at the original colonial records, you will find that they did work together. For the first few centuries, the problems only started when both species forgot their shared history. The Nexus speaker's compound eyes focused on Ryan. What do you propose? Joint administration. The Vorthans provide security for the entire system. The Nexus Collective manages resource extraction and trade. Both species share the profits and the decision-making. It took 3 hours of careful negotiation, but Ryan managed to get both sides to agree to a trial partnership. As they signed the agreement, General Faxver looked at Ryan with respect. You have solved in 1 day what we could not solve in 3 centuries. How did you know about our shared history? Because we kept records of everyone we helped, Ryan replied. We wanted to make sure that if we ever came back, we could remind you of the things you had forgotten. The third test took place in a massive holographic simulation chamber aboard the Federation flagship. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez stood on a raised platform surrounded by displays showing the positions of dozens of virtual ships. The simulation was designed to be impossible. Amy commanded a fleet of 20 Federation ships against an enemy force of 50 vessels. The enemy had better weapons and stronger shields. The only way to win was to destroy them all, which would result in thousands of casualties, but Amy had no intention of playing by their rules. All ships, this is Lieutenant Rodriguez, she said into her communicator. We are going to try something different. Instead of attacking the enemy fleet directly, Amy ordered her ships to form a complex formation that the Federation observers did not recognize. Her vessels moved in patterns that seemed random, but were actually based on human tactical doctrines that were hundreds of thousands of years old. Target their command ship, Amy ordered, but do not fire on it. I want you to use our tractor beams to grab it and pull it out of formation. The Great Council chamber was filled with celebration. Delegates from hundreds of worlds cheered and applauded as Chancellor Quanther prepared to formally welcome humanity back into galactic civilization. Colorful lights flashed from crystal. Beings, tentacled creatures waved their arms in joy, and even the usually serious War Master Grexton was smiling. But Commander Jake Morrison stood up and raised his hand for silence. The noise in the chamber slowly died down as thousands of alien eyes focused on him. Chancellor Quanther, delegates of the Galactic Federation, we are honored by your offer of membership, Jake said in a clear, calm voice, but we must respectfully decline. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Some aliens sounded confused, others hurt, and a few seemed angry. Chancellor Quanther's crystal body flickered with rapid pulses of light. You decline? But why? You have passed all our tests. You have proven your peaceful intentions. Why would you refuse to join us? Jake looked around the chamber at the hundreds of different species. Because joining your federation as equals would not be fair to any of us. We have too much power and too much knowledge. If we became members, other species would always look to us for answers instead of finding their own solutions. Dr. Lisa Hamilton stepped forward. We did not return to rule the galaxy. We came back to make sure that you could rule it yourselves. Captain Ryan Brooks activated a holographic display that showed the entire galaxy. What we propose is different. We want to serve as guardians and advisors, not as members or leaders. A delegate from the peaceful Zenthari spoke up. What does that mean exactly? It means we will help you when you ask for help, Lisa explained. We will share our knowledge slowly and carefully, making sure that no single species gains too much advantage over others. We will protect the galaxy from external threats, but we will not interfere in your internal affairs. Admiral Zethkar looked skeptical. How can we trust that you will not change your minds? Your power could corrupt you over time, Jake smiled, because we have been through this before. 870,000 years ago, we learned that having too much power can be dangerous. We do not want to make the same mistakes again. Chief Engineer Danny Clark had been working throughout the council session, and now he was ready to present humanity's first gift to the new galaxy. If I may demonstrate what we have in mind? A holographic image appeared showing a space station, unlike anything the Federation had ever seen. It was shaped like a flower with multiple petals that glowed with soft, warm light. This is a gift station, Danny explained. We will build these throughout Federation space. Each one will be automated and will provide technology upgrades based on the current development level of the species that uses it. War Master Grexton leaned forward with interest. What kind of technology? Medical advances that will extend lifespans and cure diseases. Agricultural improvements that will end hunger on your worlds. Manufacturing techniques that will reduce waste and pollution. Transportation systems that will make travel between stars faster and safer. But, Danny continued, the stations will only give you technology that you are ready to handle. If a species is still learning basic space travel, they will not receive weapons that could destroy planets. If a species is peaceful and unified, they will receive more advanced gifts than species that are still fighting among themselves. Chancellor Quanther's body was pulsing thoughtfully. This would prevent any one species from becoming too powerful too quickly. Exactly, Lisa said. We want all Federation species to advance together, not compete against each other for our favor. A small, furry delegate raised her hand. What about military protection? You said you would defend us from external threats. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez stepped forward. We will establish Guardian fleets in key locations throughout the galaxy. These will be human ships with volunteer crews from Federation species. We will train your people to use our technology, but the ships will remain under human command, to prevent them from being used in conflicts between Federation members. You would trust us with your technology? Admiral Zethkar asked in surprise. We would trust you with some of our technology, Amy corrected. The defensive systems, the sensors, the communication equipment, but not the weapons that could destroy entire star systems. Senator Greg Murphy, who had been quietly observing from the back of the chamber, now came forward. He was humanity's elected civilian representative, chosen by the crew of the Eternal Dawn to speak for their people. We have another proposal, Murphy said. We want to help you explore beyond this galaxy. We will teach you how to build your own generation ship so that if another great threat ever comes, all of our civilizations can survive together. The chamber fell silent as the aliens processed this offer. The humans were not just offering to share technology. They were offering to share the stars themselves. A delegate from a species that looked like walking trees spoke in a voice like wind through leaves. You would give us the ability to leave our galaxy? We would give you the choice, Murphy replied. Some of you might want to explore other galaxies. Others might want to stay here and build the civilization you have created. But if danger ever comes again, you will have options. Chancellor Quanther's crystal body began to glow brighter. This is not membership in your civilization. This is partnership. Yes, Jake said simply. True partnership between equals, even if we have different capabilities. The debate that followed lasted for 3 days. Some species worried that humanity's gifts would make them dependent. Others feared that human technology would disrupt their traditional ways of life. A few were concerned that other aliens might use human gifts to gain advantages over their neighbors. But slowly, a consensus emerged. The Federation would accept humanity's proposal to serve as guardians and advisors. In exchange, they would work together to create a new kind of galactic civilization, one based on cooperation rather than competition. The formal agreement was signed on the 4th day. But instead of a simple document, the aliens insisted on a ceremony that would be remembered throughout the galaxy. Representatives from every Federation species gathered on a newly constructed space station in the center of the galaxy. The station was built using both human and alien technology, a symbol of the partnership they were creating. Jake Morrison stood before the assembled delegates, but he was not alone. Beside him stood Captain Ryan Brooks, Dr. Lisa Hamilton, Chief Engineer Danny Clark, Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez, and Senator Greg Murphy. Behind them, holographic images showed the crews of dozens of other human ships that had awakened from their long sleep and come to join the new galactic community. Today, we established the Guardian Council, Jake announced. Humans will serve as advisors and protectors, but the real power will remain with the species that call this galaxy home. Chancellor Quanther activated a control panel, and throughout the galaxy, the first gift stations came online. On hundreds of worlds, Federation species began receiving the first installments of human knowledge and technology. On the medical station, orbiting the Xanthari homeworld, doctors learned new techniques that would allow them to heal injuries that had been considered impossible to treat. On the agricultural worlds of the Nexus Collective, farmers discovered growing methods that would triple their crop yields while using half the resources. War Master Grexton found himself in command of the first mixed human-alien Guardian fleet, learning to use defensive technologies that could protect entire star systems from attack. To his surprise, he discovered that he enjoyed being a protector more than he had ever enjoyed being a conqueror. But the most important changes were not technological. They were social and cultural. For the first time in Federation history, species that had been enemies for centuries began working together on joint projects. The humans had provided not just tools, but a new way of thinking about cooperation and shared goals. Dr. Lisa Hamilton established the Galactic Medical Exchange, where doctors from different species shared knowledge about biology and healing. She discovered that alien medical techniques could benefit humans just as much as human medicine could help aliens. Captain Ryan Brooks became the head of the diplomatic corps, helping to resolve conflicts between Federation members using the same historical perspective that had solved the Keras system dispute. His office became known as the place where impossible problems were solved through patience and understanding. Chief Engineer Danny Clark led the effort to upgrade Federation infrastructure, but he insisted that alien engineers work alongside humans on every project. His teams became legendary for their ability to adapt human technology to work with dozens of different alien systems. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez founded the Guardian Fleet Academy, where the best military minds from across the galaxy learned to work together. Her students included former enemies who learned to fight side by side against common threats. Senator Greg Murphy worked with Federation leaders to establish the New Worlds Initiative, a program to help species expand peacefully to uninhabited star systems. Under his guidance, population pressure and resource conflicts became things of the past. Years passed, and the galaxy transformed in ways that no one had expected.